Daf Peches, Amud Aleph. We're behind, and eventually we'll catch up.
Okay.
So the Mishnah has spoken about a woman who was told by one witness that her husband had died, went overseas and he had died. And we learned the Mishnah that says that the Beis Din does allow her to get married. Yesterday we ended off. The reason is because we make it so difficult for her if the husband is going to come back, that we trust that she's going to investigate in order not to have all those consequences. So we invented the consequences in order to make her investigation more reliable.
Are you recording?
Yeah. So the Mishnah said that if he does come back, so there's a whole list about 14, 15 things that consequences, and one of them was that she's ushered to remain with either of those husbands. But the first one is his real husband, the second one is not really a husband, but she can't remain with either one of them. And that's where the Gemara starts now, 6 lines from the bottom. The Mishnah is only true if she only got married with one testimony, but if there are two Eidim that came and said that her husband died, then she stays. So we would have learned very simply, which the Gemara is going to say at the end, that lo teitze would mean she could stay with the first husband.
Yeah.
Which that would be simple. And that's what the Mishnah says that at the end of the Mishnah. We learned the Mishnah yesterday. That's how we read the end of the Mishnah when it says, that if she didn't need a special permission because she had two Eidim, so she's not to go back to the first husband.
Right.
But the Gemara doesn't think that that's what these words mean. The Gemara thinks that these words mean she could stay with a second husband. And there is no second husband. What does it mean? The first husband came back. He's in the flesh and blood. Here he is. He didn't die. She's married to him. How could she marry the second husband? How could she remain with the second husband? Okay. So
Two
Eidim come that he died. And then
not Eidim Zomin, are they? Or do
no, they testify that he died, but I said they're wrong because they got their husband arrives. So they laughed about this statement in Eretz Yisrael. Also, the man's right in front of you, and you say that she doesn't need the second husband. Can't be. So, just a little hakdama to the sugya. Taisa says that there's no question that if we all know who the guy is, the husband who had gone overseas, he comes back, and everyone knows. This is. So then there's no question.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to say, but two Eidim say that he died. Means if you might ask a question that who says, how could he say that it's him? Two Eidim say, we trust two Eidim, two kosher Eidim, we interrogated them, they said that he died. Then he comes and says, here I am. Can't be. Yeah, but if we try interrogated the Eidim, you're right. But just to get through the details.
But now he comes back and the whole town knows that he's.
But yes, so Taisa just points out the question that usually we say, what if you have two Eidim and 100 Eidim, 1,000 Eidim say against them?
Like, doesn't make sense. Right.
Two is like 1,000.
Right.
So here, the fact that two Eidim say that he died, and then he comes in the flesh and blood, maybe it's 2 against 1,000. Right. That's what Taisa says. How does Moshe say? That's crazy stuff. Can't be. So that can't be.
Yeah.
I mean, the Gemara is not dealing with that. If everybody knows that this is him,
Right.
and it's obvious to everybody, so even though you have two Eidim that say that he died,
They made a
he
mistake.
didn't die. He did a lying or he made a mistake, whatever it is. So that's not the sugya. And that's what the Gemara means to say.
Why can't you learn that the first husband divorces her, she stays with the second one?
No, because there was this noose over here.
Yeah, but it's Mishogate.
Uh-huh. The word lo teitze means that she's allowed to remain with him. It doesn't say that she has to get a divorce from the first husband. That's not, the Gemara doesn't entertain that.
Okay.
That shot. So Taisha says, introduces that the Gemara does not mean, or the Gemara means in this one line, that if the guy's here and everybody knows who he is, you're not going to say that two Eidim say that he died. We're not going to, and therefore, in that case, surely she cannot stay with the second husband. This is a little Taisha on the bottom. Taisha is on the list, the one liner. In Tomar, Chibin Di Katrei, Damri Mace, Afilu Mikameya, Damri Shazel, Mabakach, a trade Kameya. Taisha says can't be. Dava near of Yadu Alakol. If everybody knows about it, you don't just say that I say them. Okay. So that's on the side. Taisha says that's not the Sugi is talking about. But now the rest of the Sugi is going to be, I think the rest of the Sugi, more or less today, is going to be talking about that it's not so sure that this is the husband.
Oh, that's the guy's case.
What's the case?
The story. The guy comes back and he says, I'm here after 10 years or whatever. And the wife, it looks like the guy, everything, but something doesn't sound right. So the father-in-law goes to the Vilgain, and the Vilgain says, and he knows everything. He knows everything about it. He's answering all the right questions, everything. And he says, okay, when you come Friday night, just go with him and let him find his own seat, like where it's supposed to sit. But he has to go first, and then you'll see if it's the real guy. Anyway, he comes to shul, he didn't know where to go. And anyway, he then comes out the story that he met the real husband. The husband was really alive somewhere. He's still alive. And he told him everything about him, and they looked alike. And he came and
He wanted to take
he wanted to be the husband's friend. So the Vilna said, because I knew that the guy's whatever that from kite wise, he's not going to ask the right question, whatever. So he asked him where
if he has this kind of thought of taking over somebody else's wife, he's not going to be thinking where he was in the shul.
where he was supposed to be sitting in the shul.
So this Gemara seems to be a similar case that we're not sure if it's we don't know. We don't have. It's not like he comes back. Everybody says, "Oh, your uncle came back." No, we look at him. We're not sure that it's him. We don't know it's him. Or he comes to a place that nobody had known him from before. It also could be a scenario, and that's what the Gemara is going to continue. The issue is that we're not sure that the guy came. So again, what's the story? That one aide or two aides, that's the thing. One aide, two aides came and said that he died, and then the guy says, "Here I am." He comes and says, "Here I am," and we're not so sure. And that's going to be the sugya now. So lo tzricha the lo yadin only that we don't know who he is. So an aide echad came and said that he died, and then he comes and says, "Here I am," and we don't know that it's him. And the Mishnah says that, and the way the Gemara is learning now is that the difference if one aide came to say that he died, the two aides. If one aide came, so then Teitza Mizeh, then the whole Mishnah applies. But if two aidim came, then she could remain with the two aidim came and said that he died. She could remain with the second husband, even though the guy comes and says, "It's me. I'm here. I'm the first husband." We don't know. And the Gemara says, if that's the case, either the Gemara says, if that's the case, that we don't know who, we're not sure that it's him, that it's the husband who came. So even if the only one aide had said that the husband died, and then this guy comes and we don't know who he is, she also could remain with the second husband. That also wouldn't be enough reason to take her away from the second husband, because we don't know who this guy is. So usually when I make a lot of greens, each one is like another terrace. But here, all these greens is all the conditions necessary for one terrace. It's not different to Rutzen. The first says we don't know who he is, but there are two aidim and come and say that this is him. And how do they know? Because they say we've been in since he went overseas and came back. We've been with him the whole time. Don't look at his face. I know that is him. I've been with him the whole time. The asu betrei v'ami anan havinu b'adei mibin nafik v'ad hashta. V'atunu the lo yadisule. We two aidim come and say that we've been with him the whole time. They're on the side of the husband. The husband comes and says, I'm the first husband.
What is Beitri?
Two people.
Yeah, okay.
Why does it say Beitri? I'm not sure.
Okay.
Beitri. Two people come and they say, we were with him from the time that he left until now. And you don't recognize him, like the chsiv, like it says by Yosef. When Yosef left, he didn't have a beard. When he came back, and people change over the time. I guess it was many years. That he recognized them, but they didn't recognize him. Rav Chisda says because when he left, he didn't have a beard. When he came back, he had a beard. So people change over time, and you can't tell. So the Eidim come and say, "We know that it's him."
What is the Zakan?
Zakan is a beard.
It's in there.
Hasima Zakan.
I see. What's it?
Vayakei Yosef esachav v'hem lo yikiru. That's the pasuk. And
That's the one word I know because I knew someone Barbara. If I go, back stuck here.
Zakain is an old man. Zakan.
Oh, Zakan.
Is
You understand.
Okay.
So
So
we're saying if he or
what's that?
Rav Chisda is saying so he went without a beard, now he has a beard.
That's how Chisda explains the pasuk. How come he recognized them and they didn't recognize him?
Okay.
That's the and now the same thing over here. The two of them come and say that you don't recognize him, all you people, but we know that it's him. And in fact, you don't recognize him. It's not that it's not him. He changed. Okay, so what's the case now? If one aide came and said that the husband died, and then the husband comes with two aidim that say that it's the husband, he's the first husband, we're going to say she has to get divorced. That's the Mishnah. But if there were two aidim that said that he died, and now the husband comes back with two aidim that verify that it's him, then she could stay married to the second husband. And the Gemara's not happy about that. It's 2 against 2. So that's what the Gemara starts now. So trading, it's still 2 against 2 because 2 say that he died, but 2 say that he's here. So how could you let her stay married? That if someone would have relations with this woman, so he's chayiv bashim toli. Bashim toli means when you don't know if you did an avera. Chayiv chatas is when you know for sure you did an avera by mistake, and bashim toli means that you don't know that it's an avera. It's a suffix. You don't know if it's a chayla. You say you ate something, you don't know if it's chatas, if it's chayla or kosher. So bashim toli. So here the case is 2 against 2. If someone would have relations, it's a chayiv korban. So how can we say that she could remain with the second husband? This is a suffix eishasish. It's 2 against 2. 2 say that the husband died. 2 say the husband is right here. How could you allow her to continue staying with the second husband? With kasha? It's 2 against 2. Rav Sheshes, so the more continues, more not that new to Butzim, it's more information all for the same parents. That she married, who did she marry? Who's the second husband? One of the Eidim who testified that the husband had died, that the first husband had died. So he says, I have no suffix. He says, you Bezdin, you have 2 against 2. But I'm one of the Eidim, and I know that the husband did die. I don't have to look at it like 2 against 2 because I know the truth.
And he's the husband now?
Yes.
They're done.
What do you mean? He came to testify. That's the mission someplace tells that he testified that the husband died.
Right, and then he ends up married.
And then he marries her. And now we want to say now later 2 Eidim came and said, here's the husband. We verify this is the husband. He said, I know the husband died. So if it would be somebody else would have married her, so that a person doesn't know, so then it's 2 against 2. So you have to look at it like outside of 2 against 2, can't stay married. But if he himself is the husband and he says, I know that he died, so Bezdin, you can't stop me from staying married to her because I know that he died. So you have 2 Eidim that say not. There's 2 Eidim. I'm one of them, and he married her before the other Eidim came. There's a halacha about something else. What's the problem?
I mean, he's an aide, and then he goes and ends up marrying her. This is like really weird.
Why shouldn't he marry her? He first testified. He knows that the husband died.
Okay.
There is a din that when there's the din in Bukharis, they think that if the whole thinks you need eid echad is enough, so then we don't let him marry because maybe it was negaya. But if there are 2 Eidim came, he came. So then it's not mistabah. So there are 2 Eidim. So 2 Eidim came and they said that the husband died, and one of them married her, and then 2 Eidim come and say, here's the husband. So he says I'm allowed to remain stay married because I know the truth. You don't know. You Bezdin, you don't know. 2 against 2. But that much as how about her? That's about him. How about her? She doesn't know. She looks at it 2 against 2. He goofa b'ashim toli kaima. She has a problem that she'll be chayiv b'safik. How could she remain married to him if it's 2 against 2? She also says that she knows. But Maris Barili, she says, I'm sure. What is she sure? She's not sure that he's died. Not to have 2 Eidim, but she's sure that this is not the husband. She says this is not my husband. 2 Eidim say it's the husband. She says no. So Bezdin might have 2 against 2, but she says I can stay married because I and my new husband, we know, he knows that my husband died. I know this is not my husband, so she's allowed to stay married. And the Gemara wants to say that this is what Rav meant. We go back to the beginning of the Gemara. All this was necessary in order to explain Rav's statement. Rav said that Teitzim Mizem, he says only she got married with 1 Eid, but if she got married with 2 Eidim, she's allowed to remain married to the second husband. And the Gemara explains this is the case. We're not sure the husband, the first husband came back. We don't recognize him. 2 Eidim come and say this is him, but the Eid, one of the Eidim who had said that he died, is the one who married her, and she also says that this is not my husband. So then they're allowed to stay married. That's how the Gemara explained Rav's statement. The Gemara in the 3rd line has a problem that this was spoken about someplace else, and it's not a chiddush even. We look at it like a big chiddush, but the Gemara says it's not a chiddush, and the Gemara brings the brisa. The brisa is a little different scenario than we spoke about, but it boils down to the same yisod. 3rd line. What's the chiddush? I feel of Nacham Rav Yossi lo kama ela b'shavo edim v'achkaf nises aval nises v'achkaf bo edim lo amar. So the Gemara is going to explain. The Gemara didn't bring the brisa. That's going to be the next words to Tanya. But the Gemara is going to say that there's a machlokes between Tanya Kama Rav Nacham Rav Yossi in a certain case, if they have to get divorced or not, or they can stay married. And over there, the machlokes is only when the Eidim came, and then there was a problem arose 2 against 2. And she still got married. She shouldn't have got married. It's 2 against 2, you don't get married. And she got married. So then it's machlokes if you can stay married or not.
It's not about one of them being married to her.
That's also going to be that case. One of them married her also.
Yeah.
But if she got married before the problem arose, she had 2 Eidim to rely on, and they got married. And then the other 2 Eidim came. Now it's 2 against 2. Then everybody holds she can stay married. And the Gemara is going to bring a little different case than we spoke about. We spoke about 2 Eidim came and said the husband died, and then the husband arrived with 2 people verifying that it's him. That's our scenario. It wasn't to bring a similar scenario and say that it's not a chiddush. Rav didn't say a chiddush. The Tanya. Here comes the case. Shnaim omrim meis, shnaim omrim lo meis. 2 against 2. 2 with Adam come to say the husband's not here. 2 Adam come and say overseas the husband died, and she can get married. The husband died.
I
2
assume
Adam,
it was that in that order,
what's that?
in that order.
So far, it doesn't make a difference because they're all here, whatever order they came. But I guess they only had to come say low mason because 2 said mace. I guess 2 Adam came to Bezin and said that the husband. 2 other Adam came and said we just heard that they testified that the husband died. The husband didn't die. We also came back from Honolulu, and we were there, and he didn't die. So could she get married? At this point, could she get married? It's 2 against 2.
It's not.
I guess not. Or another 8. Shnaim omim nisgarsha, shnaim omim lo nisgarsha. Or you have 2 against 2 if she got divorced. 2 of them say she got divorced. 2 of them say she didn't get divorced. So Harezu lo tinasi. It's 2 against 2, so she shouldn't get married. But it says when this is lo teitze. But if she did marry, then she doesn't have to get divorced. Now the Gemara doesn't explain it over there, but in L'chora that goes back to the top of our page. That the Gemara said, "How could you stay married if it's 2 against 2?" And the Gemara said it's talking about that one of the Edom is the one who married her, and also that she says, "I also know for a fact." So you have to insert this Gemara on top of the page into this Bryce also. That's the case where it says, and this is lo teitze, if she's sure and he's sure, both of the ones the ones are married are sure. So even though it's 2 against 2, they're allowed to stay married. Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Yossi, Yom Teitze. Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Yossi, Augustine says she does have to get divorced. Augustine Tanakama. But Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Yossi explains himself right away. On Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Yossi, Emasai Omer, Emasai, it's missing a yud. Emasai Omer Teitze, Bisman Shavo Edom Machach Nisis. I only say she has to get divorced if she did bad by getting married after it was already 2 and 2, 2 against 2. It was 2 against 2, and then she got married. We tell the Lo Tinase, don't marry. Tanakama also says Lo Tinase. If they married, then you can talk about if she can stay married. But if she went against our psak that don't get married, and then she got married anyway, we'll tell her to get divorced. But if but if she got married before the second pair of Edom arrived, 2 Edom came and said the husband died. She got married to one of the Edom, and she also and then the other Edom came and said that he didn't die. So then she said she doesn't have to.
Isn't this backwards? I don't quite understand.
Why is it backwards?
She got married before the 18th.
Which Edom? Which Edom? She got married before
Oh, the
the Edom,
second
second pair of
one.
Edom. One pair of Edom came and said that the husband died. She got married. And then another pair of Edom came and said he didn't die. So Nachman Bersi says, "Lo teitze." She doesn't have to get divorced because when she got married,
on the ages of the ones that said he
right,
died.
right. So the Gemara,
Is that the end of the breast?
that's the end of the brisa. Over here, by this word, Harezu lo teitze. This is Vakach bo Edom Harezu lo teitze. Everybody agrees that if she got married before the second pair of Edom came and made the problem, so she doesn't have to get divorced. Tanakama says even if she got married after the problem was there, she shouldn't have. Lo tinase, but if she did, she doesn't have to get divorced. And the Gemara is going to say when the Gemara says that it goes back to the beginning of the page that the 8 says the husband and the wife, both of them say, "I'm sure that the first husband died." Both he knows and she knows, so they're allowed to stay married. We're not going to stop them. So that now the Gemara is asking if this is the pshat, the way you explained Rav, so Rav is not a chiddush anymore because the Brisa says that. That's how the Gemara's kash is. Again, Rav started off saying this statement over here that if there are 2 Edom, she doesn't have to get divorced. 2 Edom, if she got married with 2 Edom's testimony that the husband died, she doesn't have to get divorced. In order to make sense out of that, we have to explain and talk about we don't know who the husband is, and you have 2 against 2 Edom that say that this is him, 2 Edom say that he had died, and both the husband and the wife, second husband and the wife, they say we're sure, and that we allow them to stay married. And the Gemara's kash is that the Brisa says a similar thing. Here the case is not about that the husband arrived and we don't know who he is, but it's 2 against 2. 2 Edom say that the husband died, so 2 say he didn't. And it says you're allowed to stay married. They shouldn't get married, but if they got married, lo teitze. And even Nachman Rabbi Yossi agrees that if they got married before the second pair of Edom came, they could stay married.
Why shouldn't they have gotten married?
Why shouldn't they? Because it's 2 against 2.
No, I thought she got married. Oh, she got married after they. I thought we just said she got married before
Before what? Before?
the second group.
Right. So that's
So why should she not be able to stay married? Okay.
that's what the Gemara saying. The Gemara saying if it's 2 against 2, she could stay married. But provided what the Gemara said on top, that she has to say, I know for sure. If she doesn't know for sure. So it's 2 against 2. We can't let them stay married. And he also has to say he's sure. The husband and the wife, both of them say we're sure. The first husband died. So then they even though it's 2 against 2, and we won't let them stay married, we wouldn't let them. But if they say they're sure, we would let them. And that seems to be the Gemara's kasha that Rav's not a chiddush anymore. If that's the way you're explaining Rav, so the Brisa says so.
Oh, I see.
The Gemara answers, Ki kama Rav Nami bisman shebo edem b'yachakach niseis lafukim ed Rav Nachum Rabbi Yossi. You want to know what Rav's chiddush is? Rav's chiddush is that even if they married after the problem arose, that the second pair of Beit Din came, also they can stay married, which is against Rav Nachum Rabbi Yossi. Rav Nachum Rabbi Yossi said that sometimes we do make her get divorced if she got married when she wasn't supposed to. I agree that if she got married better when there was only two of them, so then she could stay married. But if she shouldn't have gotten married, then she has to get divorced. So Rav is coming to say, I hold like the Tanakama. That's why he's saying a chiddush. It's considered a chiddush because there's a machlokus about it. Tanakama says, Rav Nachum Rabbi Yossi says, if she shouldn't have gotten married, then she should get divorced. So here, Rav is saying, I'm coming to hold like the Tanakama. Ikadamri, or they have a different version in order to answer the kasha. Time of the nisas v'achkach bo edim, bo edim v'achkach nisas teitze. Command Rav Nachum Rabbi Yossi that Rav himself was coming to Paskin dafka like Rav Nachum Rabbi Yossi. Dafka she did it better, and now she did it better. So the Gemara seems to be over at this point, more or less. And the Gemara says that this case, the Rav's being out there, is because it's 2 against 2, and husband and wife, both of them say we know for sure. And the Gemara is asking that it's a brisa that says the same similar halacha about 2 against 2. And the Gemara says Rav's coming to Paskin like one of the two opinions, either like Tanakama or like Rav Nachum Rabbi Yossi, that if they got married at a time that they shouldn't have, so then maybe they have to get divorced. Two Lashon is what Rav meant to say, either like the Tanakama or like Rav Nachum Rabbi Yossi. But more or less, it is the same as the brisa. The Gemara is a kasha now. I put it in parentheses just to make it clearer. Maybe I hope it makes it clearer. The Gemara is a kasha. Rav has a kasha. Lachor is not a third wide line.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
So it's a little, I'm not sure if it's really parentheses, it's not mamish parentheses, but it's just to isolate because soon the Gemara is going to come after that with another explanation of what Rav said in the beginning. So I just wanted to isolate it. The Gemara is a kasha. Lachor is not such a kasha, whatever the Gemara is going to ask, because whatever we're asking on, we can ask now on the brisa, because Rav is just saying, I would like all the Tanon, just as much. So he didn't really say anything original anymore, but Rav is asking how this is going to fit with the following brisa. Minayim, she'im lo rotza dafno. So the word dafno is not a regular word, but they find it a few places in the Shas that it means hit him. Hit him. How do you know that if he doesn't want, you hit him? What does that mean? That means the person, you hit him. Rashi says, lahako so. Where's the Rashi? Dafno hakehu. That's the Rashi over here. So Rashi doesn't bring.
Like a wall.
So they say some. So it has two. No. So it's what is that word again? A homonym. One word that has two meanings.
Yeah.
So that's it over here. Dafno doesn't mean aside. It means to hit him. And they bring what the source of the word is from Arabic, but it's not a usual word. But they do bring about 3 places in the Shas where it says it. Rashi doesn't tell us how he knows what the translation is, but that's from the context. That's also what it means.
Okay.
So Rebbe says it says in the Brisa. How do you know? It's going on a Kohen, the Kiddush Do. That next word here, the Kiddush Do, that you have to sanctify the Kohen. The Kiddush Do, you're supposed to sanctify, consecrate the Kohen. So how about if he doesn't want? Well, there's a Kohen that doesn't want to be a Kohen, means he wants to marry a divorcee. So he could say, I don't want to be a Kohen? So he can't, and you hit him. He doesn't want, if you don't want, you hit him. Even against his will. It's not just that it's a privilege, it's also a responsibility. And if there would be a Kohen that wants to marry a Grusha, you don't let him. He'll say, I'm willing to take the consequences. My children won't be Kohanim, they'll be Halalim. No, there's Avera. No, you don't let him. That's why I was asking about it. I heard there was a story that there was a Kohen that married a divorcee. There was some kind of story a couple of years ago. I'm not sure what it was, but the halacha would be that you is chayv malchus, and you don't encourage such a thing at all. The marriage is an avera. But the Gemara doesn't accept what I just said. That is too simple. You wouldn't need a pasuk to say that you stop him against his will from doing an avera, marrying a divorcee. That's pashut. The Gemara doesn't consider that a chiddush. The Gemara is going to find that there must be some extra chiddush over here, a case where you force the Kohen to keep his kahuna. Hey Chidami, what's the case? Even if it will be such a case, the Gemara is even putting in these cases over here where there's some fakers going on. Did the husband die? Did the husband not die? So Rashi points out that the point here is a little bit, always there's a question of Eshes Ish. Whenever did the husband die? If the husband didn't die, that's not only a Kohen's question, it's everybody's question. A woman can't marry somebody else if she's married to her husband. Mm-hmm. But by a Kohen, there's an extra case, extra factor, that if she had relations out of marriage, if she had relations to another man while she was married, she became a zona. She had to be a psula. This she's not a zona for what? She was let her marry a zona. How does it go? How does it go? The pasuk, Grusha. How does it go? I forgot the pasuk. That yeah, but the Mishnah, the pasuk where it says that the Kohen cannot marry a Grusha and a Zona. So this woman, if he had relations, what's that? I forgot the. Oh no, I forgot it. Okay, Pasha Zemo. So the Gemara is talking about the way Rashi explains that this scenario over here, where there was a first husband that went away overseas and a second husband because maybe he died, and the second husband happens to be a Kohen. And even if the first husband dies, the whole first husband that dies, but if the second husband had relations with her when she might have been an Ish, so now he still can't remain with her because she's his owner. The fact his owner from him, that he was the one who had relations with her. I'll just find that a second just to get the pasuk again. We talked about it the whole time, but we're supposed to have the pasuk. How does it go? The pasuk that a Kohen could not marry a.
I think we have it in the second somewhere.
We're having it the whole time, but thank you very much. I'm listening. He shows another halal ikachu. He shows gusham yeshal ikachu. So here it might be a zona. He shows another halal ikachu. So this question, besides being the HSS question, that's a question for everybody. That how could he say married to her if she's married to the first man? But even if he would have died, it'd still be a question for a Kohen that maybe she's his owner. So here it says in the Brisa that you force him to divorce her. The kida still balkofa, that you don't let him to stay. So in the case that I said, a regular Kohen wants to marry a grusha, like Lahed, you're going against Avera, that's not a question. You don't need a pasuk to say that you force him that he cannot marry her. But Makanosa Chetetse Nafsho, by someone wants to be open Avera, you stop him. But the case must be some kind of a chiddush. And the Gemara says, even in this case, that there was the Edim that the first husband died and the Kohen married her. If it wouldn't be, and then two other Edim, then the husband comes with verification that it's him, and we're not sure it's 2 against 2. So Elaim with the loan is if it will be a case that the husband and wife, both of them are not sure. Before we stand on top of the page, it has to be that one of the Edim got married to her. He says, I'm sure. And the wife also says, I know that this is not my husband. So if that would be with the Dafno, is that a chiddush that you have to hit him to stop him from marrying her? That's not a chiddush. Then he says, become it must be that they're saying that they're sure about it. And still, Bakatani Dafno, it says still you hit him. So this is against Ram. Alma Mafkin Lamine. You see that you do force him to divorce. So this is the more is asking on Rav. You can say on the Brisa also, I've sold the same now, that Rav and the Brisa, that over there says that you let them to stay married. If they are sure, the husband and wife both say, I'm sure that this is not the husband or he died or this is not him. So you let them stay married. But this Brisa seems to say that you force him to get divorced. So the Gemara is going to say 3 terutzim over here to this question. That's going to be the blue over here. First teretz is Isakun Nashani, that by calling the more machmir, that even though under regular circumstances we would let them stay married, but if it's a Kohen question about a zona, we machmir more, which used to be a big chiddush because till now we're talking about Issa Ish. It might be mine. That's a suffix. And here it's only question of a Kohen marrying a zona. If they were going to be more machmir, that's interesting. My Dafno Beidin. Rashi says Dafno Beidin means that not that you force him, but you try to get more aid. It means that Bezdin is going to go out of the way to find investigation to verify what's happening. It means we have 2 against 2, but maybe we could try to pass on Beidin. What is that?
You hit him with more testimony.
Right. So more testimonies are only going to be 4 against 2, 10 against 2 is still going to be 2 against 2. But if somehow we could find that Aiden, there's some fault in the Aidis, maybe Aiden Zomim, some way that we could find out. So Bezdin should interrogate more. Investigate, but the way it is now, we can't really force them to get married. It doesn't mean you hit him in order to force them to get divorced, because they don't have to get divorced, even a Kohen. It's only that we're going to investigate more by a Kohen, or maybe even by Yisraelim also, that we do try to find more information, since it's such a situation, 2 against 2, maybe she's Ish, maybe she's a Zona, so we will try to find more information. After we said before that, according to one side at least, Rav holds like Menachem Rabbi Yossi that sometimes she does have to get divorced. Means even according to Rav, we only allowed him to stay married if when she got married, it was beheter, that only 2 Eidim came so far, and it wasn't another 2 Eidim. But if she got married after the Eidim came and say that this is the husband and it's 2 against 2, then Rav himself was not going to let her to get married, even though she says, I know for sure, and the husband knows for sure. But if they're 2 against 2, we're not going to let them, they have to get divorced. So then the Bryce also could make sense because Rav also agrees sometimes that she has to get divorced if she got married when she wasn't allowed to. All this was explaining Rav as the Gemara started off. This was the first sentence of Rav, and in the yellow over here, and said, Rav said, if there are 2 Eidim, lo tetzeh. And the Gemara is still lo tetzeh from the second husband. But as Moshe said right away in the beginning, what's the problem? Lo tetzeh means from the first husband. And that's what the Mishnah said. And that's what the Gemara says now. A simple teretz. The first teretz was all this green over here. We don't know who the husband is. And 2 Eidim say that this is him. And they say, but now the Gemara says that simple. This is how we would have said also right away. And that's the Gemara on the third line. Ravashi Amar, Omer, my lo tetzeh, the Kamar Rav. What does that mean when he said lo tetzeh? Lo tetzeh me'ater rishon. That she shouldn't go out of her first original status, which was she married to the first husband. Not that she can stay with the second husband, of course not. She can stay with the first husband. And the Gemara's kasha is that that's the Mishnah, and Rav said we pass like the Mishnah. This is the Mishnah. If she got married without special permission of Bezdin, which means there were 2 Eidim that said that her husband died, then she could go back to the first husband, even if the husband comes back and it's him, everyone knows that it's him, and it was she was living with another man, but that's called an onus because she had to wait and that said she could get married, and you don't need the special you don't need the special consequences, and she couldn't go back. She's an onus. She had 2 Eidim that said her husband had died. She could have gotten married. But the Gemara is asking, that's a Mishnah, and Rav said he passed like that. So why did Rav have to say the same thing twice? If Rav is just coming to say that she goes back to the first husband, that's not a chiddush. Rav already said that. The Mishnah says so many passages like that way. The Gemara says Itaka didn't say it 2 times. He said one of these 2 statements. Either he said Allah is like the Mishnah, and therefore we quoted Rav. Not that Rav said it twice. Rav wouldn't have said it twice. But we said in the name of Rav that this would be an halacha that if she was married with 2 Eidim, then she doesn't have to leave the first husband. Or Rav said this statement, and then we figured out that he passes like the Mishnah. But that's all Rav means to say. Rav means to say that she can go back to the first husband because it's an onus since she had 2 Eidim. So we have 2 pshatim in the statement of Rav. Didn't mean to say simple like the Mishnah that she could stay with the first husband if she had 2 Eidim because it's an onus. The fact that she got married to somebody else and she might be chayiv carbon for having that relation. It was a mistake, but she's allowed to go back to the first husband. Or is it a fancy case that she's allowed to even stay with the second husband because we're not sure that the first husband came back? She denies it. She says, this is not my husband. And even though 2 Eidim say that it is, but she says that it's not. And we have 2 Eidim that say that he had died, which is also contradicting the people who say that this is the husband. But as we started off with the Tosfos, if everybody knows that this is Yankel, that comes in, so then there's no question. Then it doesn't make a difference of Eidim and Eidim. This is Yedu ala Kol. That's the end of that sugya. I think.
How do we call it the Chavret?
One was learned out of the other. One was derived from the other. It means the kasha was Rav wouldn't have said 2 statements that say the same thing. The answer is he only said one, and the other one was derived from the partner.
Isn't it more the next part?
No. That one was learned, one was said, the word itmar means itamar, that it was said. One was said from the other one, means we only derived one from the other one. Rav didn't say it twice, would have been repetitious. He said one, and we derived the other one from them. And that's the end of that Gemara. 2 dots, new Gemara. So the whole first Gemara today was self on Rav. Rav said a statement, tried to figure it out, we had 2 pshatim, and now starts another statement of Shmuel. But nothing to do with Rav. It's not going to be like Rav against Shmuel. It's not the state. Shmuel happens to be talking. New Gemara. Shmuel. Lo shanu ella shalo makcheshatu. Aval makcheshatu lo teitzei. Again, the Gemara is talking about that it's not obvious who the husband is. The husband comes back. He says, here I am. 1/8 came and said the husband died. She got married. And then the husband comes in. Again, if the husband's no, this is the husband, no question. The husband's here. But Shmuel's talking about, well, we're not so sure the husband is here. And she says, you're not my husband. So Shmuel said that the din that says that she has to get divorced is only if she doesn't deny the validity, whatever the word would be, that said this is the second husband, this is her husband. But if she denies and says, you're not my husband, so then she can stay with the second husband.
She denies this guy that came back and said, I'm
Right.
husband. I didn't die. She
Right.
says, you're not my husband.
Right. I don't know. She says, I don't know if you died or not. I don't know if her husband died. That I don't know, but it's not you.
Yeah.
And she has an Eid Echad that said that her husband died.
Yeah.
and this guy's coming and saying, I'm your husband, I didn't die. She says, I don't know you. So then she doesn't have to get divorced from the second husband. Then why ask Mayaskinan? What's the case? If there are two Adim that say that this is the husband, if she denies him, that doesn't make a difference. You have two Adim say this is the husband. And it could be she wants to get out of him.
She likes to send back that.
Yeah. So we're not going to trust her because you have two Adim that say that this is the husband. Again, it's talking about we don't. Again, the whole thing is talking about we don't know for sure who it is. Ella b'chad. What are we going to say? That only one is verifying him.
Only one aide
Is
said he
that-
died. Isn't that what we're saying?
Yes, one aide said that he died, and now one aide said this is the husband. Means the verification. The husband comes and says, "I'm here. I am," and she says,
But
You're
we're saying
not-
the two aiding that say this alive guy is
Right.
the guy. So the
"Elaine will
first one,
betray," who say that this is they verified the husband, the
now that
verification.
he's back, yeah.
So then her denial is not going to let
Oh,
us
I see.
let her stay with him.
Okay, but if it's only
But it's only one who's verifying him. So then she could deny, we'll trust her denial, and she could stay with the second husband. Good?
Well, doesn't it say Ela B'chad time?
No, Ela b'chad.
Mhm.
Ela b'chad. Comma,
My
period.
hive, my hafe.
Again,
I thought we said, well,
Elaine,
what do we have? My hafe would be,
what's the
what do we
difference?
have? If you have two.
Then
what is the
does make a
difference?
difference that she denies him. Ki machashat lei my having. What's the
Yeah.
difference if she denies him? Ella b'chad. It must be that
Oh,
only
that's the
one.
end? Ela
Yeah,
B'chad.
it must be that
because
only one is verifying him, and then her denial is accepted. But Marzakasha on that. Okay, Shmuel would make sense so far. But Marzakasha, time of the Makashatu, Hashaska Teitse. What if she doesn't say anything? She doesn't know. What if she doesn't know? She doesn't deny. She doesn't confirm. She doesn't deny. One aide came and said the
fact
husband
that
died.
She denied.
Dafka because she denied.
because she
But if she
denied,
would have been,
She goes out.
no, then she stays. Again, Shmuel said
She goes
that if
out.
she
No,
denies, she
Teitze
could
means
stay.
she goes-
Low Teitse means she doesn't have to get divorced.
There's no law.
What? Where?
There's no law.
No.
Talmud de Mechash.
Shmuel's statement. Look at Shmuel's statement. Shmuel said, "Machashata lo seitze." That was his statement in the yellow. Machashata lo seitze. That's what Shmuel said. That if she denies him, she denies the presence of the old first husband. She says, "You're not my husband." Then she may remain with the second husband. Lo teitze. And the one is asking, is that true? The case only because she denies him. But if she would be quiet, hashaska, if she'd be quiet, silent, then she does have to get divorced.
The aide and the husband that came back, they said for sure we're the right ones, and she's quiet, she says.
But
"I don't know."
she has a Eid Echad who says her husband died. The husband himself is not. He's not believed. He's not on it. But you have one aid that said the husband died,
Yeah.
and one aid says here's the husband.
What do you get, oh, what's?
No, but we're saying if she
doesn't know.
denies.
If she
doesn't,
denies-
She can stay married.
Right. What if she
But
doesn't
now,
deny?
if she doesn't say anything, does that mean she has to get divorced? That's the question.
Right. That's the question.
Yeah.
And the Gemara thinks she doesn't have to get divorced. The Gemara thinks even if she doesn't know, she says I don't know. She looks at him, not sure it was my husband, and it's one against one. And the Gemara says she can
Well,
stay married.
it's a suffix against it.
What do you mean a suffix?
I don't know. It doesn't.
She doesn't know. She says I don't know. I can't tell. I can't tell. But one aid says I know that he died. One aid says I know this is the husband.
Oh, what is it? I see.
But the Gemara says that this one against one is not going to be like two against two. This one against one, the first one has more power than the second one. Because here's the Gemara. Hashaska Teitze, if she doesn't know, she's quiet, so then she has to get divorced because it's one against one. Ula said, the Torah gave them one. This means that we do trust the Eid Echad. That's the beginning of the parak. It said if Eid Echad comes and says he died, we trust him. If we trust him, so then he has a din of two Eidim. And he's going to be two against one. Means the Eid that said the husband died is stronger than the Eid that says this is the husband. What's the story again? An Eid Echad came and said the husband died.
Why is he strong, just because he came first?
Because the Torah gave namanas to the witness who says that a woman can get married because I know the husband died. To say that this is the husband, that's a regulator. That's a regulator. To say, but the one who came
We
first.
don't want her to be in a guna.
That's why we that's why we made the whole
Yeah.
situation that there's going to be a lot of consequences, and we do believe that first aid that came. together with that fact that she's going to have a lot of consequences. And now there's one aid that says, here's the husband, but the first one is stronger. And we should allow her, even though now she looks at the husband and says, I don't know. I can't say for sure it's not him. The fact that the first aid has a din of two, he's the strongest two aidim, he's going to overpower the one aid who says that this is the husband. And she should allow to stay married, even if she doesn't have an opinion. That's the most kasha. Kasha on Shmuel. Shmuel says she can stay married. If she denies him, the Gemara is asking, even if she doesn't deny him, she should let her stay married because the Torah believes the one aid and he has a din of two. So this first one is stronger than the one who came and said that I verified this is the husband.
The fact that Shmuel said that when she denies, the deal would be
that if she doesn't deny,
it's only if she-
right.
What is the
and
first,
that's the question.
what does the first aid say?
I know the husband died. I came back. He went to Hawaii. I was in Hawaii. He went and I saw that the husband died. I was at a funeral, and he came back and said, "No, that's." And then the other aide, then the husband, yeah, then another aide came back and said, the husband came back and said, "I'm the husband," and the wife said, "I'm not sure if you're the husband." I guess it was only a couple of days, whatever, that they met, and she changed a little bit over the years, and she doesn't know. And the second aide says, "I verify that this is the husband."
I verified that this is the husband.
So the Gemara says that she should let us stay married because the first aid is stronger than the second one. So the Gemara has to find Chat and Shmuel. The case is that the aid is not a kosher aid.
Which aid?
So I think all of them over here. What's Rashi saying?
Or is it below where we are?
So I think that the point is going to be that the ones that verify, they're verifying them.
That's him.
I'm sorry, am I making a mistake over here? What do we say? That if there are two Eidim, if two Eidim verify him, so then for sure she can. Two Eidim verify the husband's presence. They say that the Gemara started. If two Eidim come and say this is the husband, so then her denial is nothing. Two Eidim. Elamai, it's only one Eid that came. And the Gemara is asking that even if it's only one Eid, so then the first Eid who said that he died is stronger. Right. So the Gemara says that there are two Eidim that came. The Gemara is going back to two Eidim. If it was two regular Eidim, they're definitely stronger. If it's only one Eid, then the first Eid is stronger. What's the case? That the two Eidim that came to verify the husband, this is the identification of the husband, identity of the husband is not regular Eidim, they're psula Eidim. They're
Like
relatives, women, people that are kosher. But here we're saying that there is such a thing as psula Eidim. The first guy who says that he died also doesn't have to be a kosher Eid. We say it could even be an Eved and a Shifcha, ADP Eid. That is, here they went down on the level of testimony kashrus. So it could, here it could also. I think so. We saw about what did we see yesterday? That even if it's Eved and a Shifcha, yes, if even a woman is okay, Karab also. So here we're talking about that the Eidim that came to verify are also psulim. Now we talk about one Eid who said that the husband died,
Right.
and now we have two Eidim psulim that say that this is him. That when the Torah believes one, then you start going with the majority of opinions. Means usually we say Trei Kameya by Eidim. When the regular testimony, we don't care if it's 2 against 1,000. If 2 Eidim are strong as anybody else. But now we're talking about a special kind of a testimony that we believe Eid Echad, we believe Psulim. Here you go according to the majority of Deos. Deos means opinions. Means which means that now you have one Eid that said that the husband died, and two Pasal Eidim that say that this is the husband. And two women, we'll call women, two women or relatives, the ones who came to verify him, they're testifying against one man, is if you'd have two men testifying against one. What's the deal of 2 against 1? By regular Eid, there's 2 against 1. So that even though we do trust the one Eid Echad, but 2 is stronger. 2 against 1 is going to knock down the other one. So here he says that 2 women are also going to knock him down. So what does the Gemara answer? That there's when is the woman? We said that the woman's denial is makes it or breaks it.
Right.
If she denies the husband, he said, "You're not my husband," then she can stay married. If she doesn't, she can't. What's the case? We had a problem. If it's two Eidim that come to say this is the husband, so then we don't care if she denies. If it's only one Eid, then you don't need her. The one Eid who said that he died is himself like two. He'll knock out the one. The answer is that whether you need her, when you have two Eidim, Sulam, two women that are coming to say this is the husband. The verification is only two women. And you have one Eid that said that husband died. So then the two are going to, but that we don't know yet. So far, the Gemara thinks he's a kosher Eid.
Okay.
They was going to get to that soon. One kosher Eid said that he died. Two Sulam say that this is the husband. So they're going to win. The women are going to win. It's going to be 2 against 1.
Because of this price.
Right. And therefore, the woman's denial is necessary because then it's going to be 2 against 2.
Well, then she has to deny. That's how.
Then we'll have 2 against 2, and then she can stay married. So the pshat I just said now is not in Rashi, but the Gemara brings down from the Rambam over here. What I said here is Nagos Agra, that when she also denies, then she's mistarev to the other one is 2 against 2. Rashi is a little bit more involved, which I didn't understand. So I just had the simple pshat that that's the reason why you need her. And then he boys saying another possibility that if you'd have the one aid, we said aid echad, the one aid is stronger than even, how does he say, or stronger or equal to 100 women. Means the first version said that even though we believe aid echad, but even 2 women are going to knock him down. It's like 2 women against a man is going to be like 2 men against a man. But now we're saying no. That if it would have been a man who was the one who testified that the husband died, he wouldn't be knocked off by 2 women.
It's not like this.
That's 2 versions. Everybody's saying 2 versions in this Shad Ram Nechemia. Nechemia said that you go Basarov Deos. What we're going to talk about is that the knock off even a man or only a woman or means a puzzle. A woman is a woman or a relative. So it's a puzzle aid. Even though we do give testimony to puzzle witnesses in these kind of cases of marrying a woman whose husband died. But the question is how much what?
How much power?
Power. How would you word power? How much? Okay,
Force, I don't know.
power we give to the aid echad. Is the difference if he's a man, if he's a kosher aid, one kosher aid, or one puzzle aid? So the first version said even if he's a kosher aid, but 2 puzzle aidim are stronger than 1 kosher aid, and the 2 women would have knocked down.
Yeah.
And that's why you needed the woman to command 2 against 2. The second version says that if he's a man, the 1 man would have been as strong as the 2 women. He wouldn't have been knocked over. But if the Eid Echad is also only a woman, the one who came and said your husband died also was a puzzle aid. So then we have to have 2 against 2. That's a slight difference between the 2 versions. Iboy Sema, you might say, if the 1 aid who said the husband died would have been an 8 kosher, then even 100 women would have been equal. It would have like 1 aid to be 1 against 1, and he would have won. The one who said that the husband died was a woman, and then 2 women came now to say that confirm this is the husband. Then you need the wife also to join to be 2 against 2. The Tirsa Rav Nechemia, he had explained Rav Nechemia. Rav Nechemia is the one who said this brisa before. So I explained it a little different. That go according to Rove opinions, the majority of opinions. So I just want to highlight this just to show the difference. Let's say over here. Before we said before we quoted Rav Nechemia that even 2 women against 1 man is like 2 men against a man. But this version is saying the Isha Achas, that 2 women against 1 woman is like 2 men against 1 man, and the 2 are going to win. But he never meant to say if it would have been 2 women against a man, the second version would say no, then is equal. They don't win over. If it would have been 2 women against a man, then it would have been equal, and she would be able to remain with the husband. That's the end of the Gemara. I mean, we'll do more still, but this was all to explain Shmuel's statement. Shmuel said that sometimes it makes a difference if the woman has an opinion, the wife, and says, this is not my husband. And the Gemara was trying to figure it out, and we came across this. Again, the whole thing is talking about that we don't know who the husband is. If he comes in, everybody knows who it is, nothing to talk about. But we don't know who it is. And now the question is, Which verification do you have? The first sugi didn't talk about Pasal Leidim. Now we're talking about the Pasal Leidim that are the ones who are verifying the husband's identity. And the question is, how many of them are going to able to knock down the Eid Echad who said that he died? So you have one Eid that said that he died. It could be that he's strong enough even against two women that are going to say that he's alive, he's right here. Maybe then in that case, you wouldn't have to have the wife's confirmation. But if he's only a woman, the first day is only a woman, then you surely have to have the woman's to make it 2 against 2. And if there's a man, that's the 2 versions in the Gemara. Maybe he wouldn't even need a woman's confirmation then. Okay, that's the whole sugya about not knowing for sure that when the husband comes back. That was a side. Both members, both of Rab and of Shmuel, were talking about a case where we don't know who the husband is. But the Pashto and the Mishnah goes very smoothly that you had testimony that the husband died. But then he comes and everyone sees the husband is here. So the question is, does she have to get divorced? And that's the whole Mishnah. The Mishnah continues, get mizel. When the husband comes back, the real husband, everything is simple now. The husband comes back. We know that this was a mistake. She shouldn't have gotten married to the second husband. So we throw the book, all the consequences come, and she has to get divorced from both of them. So the question is, does she have to get a get? The second one is no marriage. She's really married to the first one. So the fact you forced her to get married from the first, to get divorced from the first one, we understand. She needs a get. But for the second one, there was no marriage even. Why does she need a get for? The first one she needs a get because she's really married to him. It's just regular nus. That doesn't need a get. She was really married to the first husband. She made a mistake and she had relations with the second man, but not a husband. So now that we tell her that the thing is over, so why does she need to get from him? She's not married. It looks bad. People think that she was married to the second husband. They know there was a first husband. Then they saw she was living with a second husband. All of a sudden, she sees that after she got to get from the first husband, she's marrying a third husband. And what?
Doing it to protect her.
That or that people shouldn't.
Society could also hurt.
Okay. Or also that people should make a mistake and think that. Okay, good, the way you said it. That people shouldn't talk about her that she's a married woman that's living with a third man without a get, because people don't know the whole story. They don't know the whole inside story. They think that maybe the first one divorced her. How did she have a second husband? They think that they don't know the story that the whole thing was a mistake and really she had testimony that her husband died. There was a mistake and she really was not married. She's been living with the second husband for a while, and now we see that she's going to marry a third husband now. She never got a get. What's that all about? So they're going to talk, or they'll make a mistake and think you don't need a get. So we made a get to Rabbanan that the second husband also should give her a get. Yachi, the one is Kasha from a Sefer. Sefer we didn't learn yet. It's a couple of pages ahead. It says in the side Tzadik Beis, a couple of pages ahead. Over there it talks about this case. Only in Iskacha. Our Mishnah spoke about that. They said that her husband died and she got married. Mama, she lived. She got consummated. She consummated the marriage and she had relations with the second husband. And that's the whole problem, that she was Mazana and therefore she has to get divorced from both of them and the whole story. What if she only had Kedushin? That means that the second husband was ready to marry her. He gave her a ring, and before they went to the Cheder Yichud, the husband came running in. Here I am. Stop everything. And they never had relations. So then it says she can go back to the first husband. He came to the nick of time, and she goes back to the first husband. And it's mashma, she doesn't need a get. She doesn't need a get from the second husband. Why?
Normally you would, but
what do you mean normally? What does normally mean?
If they went to that point of a marriage without.
Yeah. Once there's kedushin, once they gave the ring, even though there's no nisuin yet, it's a marriage, and they need a get. But over here, there was no marriage. The second marriage was nothing because she really was married to the first husband, and the second husband gave her a ring, and then before they had relations, the first husband comes running in, and they didn't have relations. So it says she can go back. But if you're saying that people are choshes, that they're going to say it must have been the first husband divorced her, and the second marriage does have take effect, so you should have to have a get in that case also. Yachi say for the Tani that it was only kedushin. Muteras lachsalo. Hasam nami name Bagir Zev Bekidah Zev. Nim say shows shalob get. Over they also have the same chash. People will say that the first husband divorced her and the second husband married her, and now you're going to say she can marry a third husband or go back to the first husband without a get. She was married to the second husband, so you should be choshesh over there also. The one says laolam boy get. She does need to get. It doesn't say so beferish, but when it says Muteras lachsalo, she does need to get from the second husband because it looks bad. But the Gemara says, it looks even worse now. Now it looks like the first husband, people think the first husband divorced her, and she married the second husband. Second husband divorced her, and she went back to her first husband. That looks really bad now. So how could you do that? The Gemara answers, Ki Rabbi Yossi ben Kippur, the Amar min ha-nesua nasua min ha-eres muteres. What's the din always by a man who divorces his wife? She married somebody else, but he didn't have a full marriage. He only got kedusha from the second husband, and then he divorced her. Could she go back to the first husband? So that's a machlokas. So the Gemara first understood that she's not allowed to, and that's Moshe Kasha that Masa Gusha Samir and Salsa, and that's also Asa. And the Gemara says, Rabbi Yossi ben Kippur says no, it's mutter. Rabbi Yossi ben Kippur says it's only Asa to take her back after she was nesuin to the second husband. But if it's only eris into the second husband, she could go back. So according to, that's why there's no kshash. We'll tell her to get a get from the second husband and go back to the first husband. And what are people going to think, that she was divorced and got kedushin and got divorced again? Yeah, she can go back to the first husband. But the Gemara says the whole pshat is wrong. It doesn't say in the Brisa where it says that she can go back to the first husband if the only was kedushin. It doesn't mean that she gets a get from the second husband. Midiktani Seifa. It says in the Seifa of that Mishnah, Afal Pish Nasan La Achron get La Paslavan Akuna. Even if the second one would have given her a get, she's allowed to marry a Kohen. That means that the second one's not a marriage at all. The first, so it means it gets not allowed to love by a get. That means that she doesn't get a get. If we're going to say Midrabanan, she needs a get, so then we should say that it's a get Midrabanan, and she's not allowed to marry a Kohen. So it's not true. There is no get over there. So back to how you say first base, that we have this kasha that if you say there's a chash that people are going to think she was divorced, and that's why the second marriage is a good marriage, then in the safe also you should be choshish. People are going to say that, and over there it says you don't need a get. You don't need a get. How come in the ratio you do need a get? And in the Sefer, when only was Kedushin, you don't need a get. First, the Gemara tried to say you need a get over there also, but it didn't work. So back to the beginning. Why does she not need a get? Ella new teretz. Sefer Amri Kedushay Torah 7. Everyone's going to realize in the Sefer that the Kedusha that the second husband did was nothing. She really was married, and they're not going to think that the first one. They're not going to think that the first one divorced her, and the second marriage was a marriage. So you don't need to get from the second one. Everyone knows that the first one was a mistake. So the kasha is if that's true, people realize the mistake. So they'll marry in the ratio also, even if she consummated the second marriage, the people also will realize that was a mistake. She thought the husband died, really didn't die, and the second marriage is nothing. Why do you make it get a get from the second husband? The Gemara answers, Kansua Rabbanan. They did make a knas. What's the knas? The knas means to be choshesh for that chasash that people will think. The Gemara is going back to the thing that we're gonna. What's the knas? That we're gonna be choshesh for this problem is below talina lakula. Means the question is, are people going to realize or not? Over there, we're machmir in the second case, we're not machmir in the first case. Why? Say for namik nesua was to make the knas in both cases. But back to the same question again. How come there's in the ratio you make you get a get, and the safe you don't make you get a get? The answer is ratio of the yisua kansua. Say for the law of the yisua law kansua abana. In the first case, the ma'aseh Isra happened. She had relations with a man that she wasn't married to. So over there, they make her get a get. But in the Sefer, where she didn't have any avera because she just got kedushin, but she didn't live with him, so then there's no knas and she doesn't need a get.
Can you just describe again the kanas?
That she has to have a get. People will think that she got divorced from the first husband and the second marriage was a marriage. Just a couple of lines more if we could. It says in the Mishnah, Ein Laksuba. Ein Laksuba means that she loses ksuba from both husbands. Why? Why does she lose ksuba? My time at the Kino Rabbanim Ksuba Kadesh Lo Te Kalabein of Lotzia. What's the reason why they made such a takana to get ksuba? But the right there's no ksuba. So how come the Rabbanim made the ksuba? In order it should be hard for the husband to divorce. If he doesn't cost him any money, so whatever happens, he's going to divorce her. So in general, Chazal wanted it should be difficult for a man to divorce his wife. So he has to pay money. By paying money, so he'll think twice before he divorces her. But over here, here we want to encourage the divorce because they're not allowed to stay married. So in order to encourage the divorce, we say that there's no ksuba, and this way he'll divorce her the way he's supposed to. Also, it says it says that she loses out all the other issues that the chachamim obligated the husband. Why? The answer is tonight ksuba kiksuba that all these other conditions have the same din as the ksuba. These are all takanas that Chazal made for the benefit of the wife, that she has rights, and we took away all the rights because it all goes together with the ksuba. We don't want it. We want to take away all the rights in order that the husband should divorce her. Not lamizah mizah, and it says even if she took money, she has to give it back. Pshita, if she doesn't get ksuba, she has to give it back. You might think that even though sometimes we say that if she did take it, we don't take it away from her. Here you do. Sometimes we say it's like a suffix. It's not a suffix over here, but you might think that we just didn't make the takana to give her money. But if she has the money somehow, we're not gonna take it away from her. Kamashma, we even take it away from her.
Tif says like to grab.
To grab, right, to be tofes. Usually it's written by us with a sama.
Yeah.
And then the Torah is written with a sin. Kamashma, that even if she got the money, we take it away from her. That's Shkoach, everybody.
Good.
Should be a good Shabbos. And what's the Shabbos?
Thanks.
9:30, 9:30 Motzei
Like
Shabbos.
32.
Till it gets earlier.
Today is the,
The latest?
is what, 09. And I think it's gonna, 11, 2 more minutes. So it's.
Okay.
We'll leave it
It's ending,
9:32.
yeah, it's ending around 8:30.